Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWT Sports in association with Round for Round Boxing, the new boxing game that's coming out on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4. Breaking news: James Buster Douglas, the former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the first man to ever beat Iron Mike Tyson in Japan, in Tokyo, that famous night, has signed with Round for Round Boxing. And as I've said, it's a pleasure to be working with James Buster Douglas. And congratulations to Round for Round team for getting such a well-recognized fighter, among other recognized fighters on the channel. So we've got Undisputed on the channel, which is fantastic. Okay, moving on. Well, people were getting fed up of Anthony Yarde and basically the opponents he was fighting, and people wanted to see him fight a step-up opponent. I understood what Tunde Jar was doing, and I understood, and I've made it very, and not even understood, I understand what's going on with Tunde Jar and Anthony Yarde. Yarde having a very limited amateur background compared to all the top light heavyweights in the world, and Yarde learning under the tutelage and the wise eyes of Tunde Jar. So the rumor mill, or their box records got it down for Leicester. February 2019, and the tweet has just come out from Sullivan Barrera. So Sullivan Barrera has tweeted that he's looking forward to February and being at Leicester at Anthony Yarde. That was a tweet he put out on Twitter quite recently. And there is a date for Leicester, and there is a title on the line. So, and Sullivan Barrera has tweeted. So it is interesting. Well, if you look at the date, it's got it there, Leicester Arena, Leicester, World Boxing Organization Intercontinental Light Heavyweight title. So it won't be for the European title, scheduled to be arranged the 23rd of the 2nd, 2019. The opponent is to be confirmed, but Sullivan Barrera has already tweeted, excited and looking forward to the fight. So if Sullivan Barrera has tweeted that, you can only think that Sullivan Barrera and Anthony Yarde are going to be fighting. Am I complaining? No, I'm not complaining. But it is a huge step up from what you've been fighting to what you're going to fight. This guy at one point was ranked #1 in the world. Sullivan Barrera is one of the best light heavyweights in the world, without a shadow of doubt in my mind. He is dangerous. Punch with both hands, good boxer, fundamentally sound, has a good chin. And the thing about Sullivan Barrera, when you drop him, he gets up and he goes on to beat your ass most times. Sullivan Barrera is a serious hombre. This guy isn't over the hill. He's not shot. He hasn't, taken a fearful beating in his career. He's a good fighter, good, solid, light heavyweight that would beat most light heavyweights. The top tier, he's up there, Sullivan Barrera. And it's a dangerous fight for Anthony Yarde, a very dangerous fight. He could fight Jose Burton, and I understand why they wouldn't fight Jose Burton. And it's quite simple. You fight Jose Burton, you beat Jose Burton. So what does that tell us? This is in the mind of Tunde Jar. If you beat Jose Burton, who's Jose Burton beaten of note of recent times? Who's Jose Burton being beaten by? So, who's Jose Burton being beaten by? Who's Jose Burton being beaten by? That's the question. He got beaten by Frank Buglioni. Frank Buglioni got beat and chinned around by Callum Johnson. So, so when we talk about him fighting Jose Burton, yeah, you should fight Jose Burton. Who's he fought and who's he beaten? Jose Burton's a good fighter. Who's he fought and who's he beaten? So, okay. So there's the Jose Burton fight put to one side. Frank Buglioni's retired. Buatsi, well, that's a different kettle of fish. Buatsi's been to the Olympics. Buatsi is a serious hombre. Yeah, if I'm managing Anthony Yarde, I go nowhere near Buatsi unless I have to fight Buatsi. Right? I don't go anywhere near Buatsi. Absolutely, like I avoid Buatsi. Buatsi can box. He can bang. He seems to have very good boxing fundamentals. No. Let Buatsi go on his path and do what he's got to do for now. Let me carve my own pathway out. Again, Buatsi, good amateur background, fought of the Olympics, so he's an elite athlete, proven as an amateur. Anthony Yarde didn't do very. I think he won a box cup, Haringey Box Cup. That's Anthony Yarde versus Buatsi, Olympic fighter. Big difference. Big difference. And a lot of people within boxing don't understand it because they just want to see a fight. But I want to see fights with guys bringing the best to the table. What I mean by bringing their best to the table, being able to show all they can at the best possible time they fight. So the best they can possibly be, the best physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually they can be. That what makes a great fight when both guys can put it in line and they're evened up. You know, so Yarde needs certain experiences still. Of course, Buatsi needs experience, but Buatsi is far more in terms of world-class experience Buatsi's had compared to Yarde. So I understand that. But this fight against Sullivan Barrera, wow. I mean, this is kind of like, this is definitely left field. Barrera's experienced. As I said, he's a very good fighter. And he's a different level to anything Anthony Yarde has fought. You see, the punches that Anthony Yarde, good morning, Razor, the punches that Anthony Yarde landed and knocked out many guys with at that level. We're yet to see whether Anthony Yarde is a world-class puncher. We know he can punch. I've seen that boy punch on pads. And listen, I've seen other guys punch who are heavier than Yarde, and they don't hit the bag or hit the pads as hard as Anthony Yarde. I'll tell you that much. This boy can bang. He really can bang. He's got some real power there. And I've been around guys who can punch. But this guy, when he punches, oh yeah, lions in the camp. Lions in the camp. Just had to mention that. But yeah, he really can punch. So whether that punch translates to knocking out the best light heavyweights in the world, I don't know. You can be a puncher, but then you've got to have accuracy. And then there's also the thing of you hitting and not getting hit. There are some question marks still. Can Anthony Yarde take a punch? That's the key point. If Yarde can hold a shot against a good puncher, and he's able to come back, and he's able to fight under pressure, and he doesn't panic when he's under pressure, then we have got a superstar in the making. Because you look at the elite light heavyweights, they all can punch. We know this. But then they start to get found out if they can't hold a shot, if they've got no heart. And we've seen in Sergey Kovalev, when you put it on him and you can punch, Kovalev doesn't want to know. He's all right coming forward and punching you. But I said this years ago about Kovalev. He's all right tracking you down and he's a big puncher. But once you get inside of Kovalev and you start hitting him on the chin, he doesn't want to know. And we saw that. And that's why I backed Ward to beat Kovalev in both fights. And I had no doubts about it. I knew Ward would get on the inside. I knew Ward would do damage. So for Anthony Yarde, can he hold a punch? A real punch. I'm not talking about in sparring. I'm talking about a real fight. 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 That's what we need to know about Anthony Yarde. But what a fight for you to find out how good you are against Sullivan Barrera. What a fight for you to find out. Huh? The one thing is, he's at home in this fight. But what a fight. But for an intercontinental belt, it makes no sense. A meaningless belt, but a big fight. So Yarde has to show for me that style he's got, does it work at elite level? That's what people want to know ultimately. But it's a great fight. On paper, a great fight. Sullivan Barrera is not a bum, so as people like to call out. He's not a bum. He's an established light heavyweight. He's a proven light heavyweight. He's not suddenly moved up to light heavyweight division. He's not, he's not been taking a beating. This guy is a genuine world-class light heavyweight. So when you say Sullivan Barrera, you better be decent. I mean, Joe Smith found out. In fact, Joe Smith, I would rather have seen Anthony Yarde take on Joe Smith because Joe Smith can punch, yes. But his boxing ability is questionable. This guy in Barrera can punch a bit, and he can box, and he takes a good punch, and he's got a good heart. See them guys that get dropped and get back off the canvas and fight better when they get dropped? They're dangerous. But I guess they figure that if Barrera can get dropped, Yarde might be the man to keep him there. So we'll have to wait and see. Love to know what your thoughts are on this fight between Yarde and Barrera, should it come to pass. Lester, it's there on BoxRec, and he's already said it on Twitter that Barrera and Yarde have been talking. So Barrera's tweeted it out. I don't know who this person is. Word, mother, I don't know who you are, because you're saying morning England like we know one another, and you're the first time I've ever seen you on the channel. So must be one of these guys that got blocked for abusing me, and they're coming back and giving me the morning greeting. Well, good morning to you anyway. But yeah, Yarde by unanimous decision. Well, that's a big statement there. Show Purdy. He's definitely not Andre Ward. Ward was able to catch and shoot in that fight. Ward is a exceptional talent. This is a difficult fight. If there's something in any of the fights Anthony Yarde's had to date, I mean, such a big step up. Such a big step up. Trolling in the morning, sad behavior. That's all right. They got blocked anyway. It's such a big step up. Which fight do you say, all right, well, that's the fight there that gives me confidence that Anthony Yarde can beat Sullivan Barrera? Or just that there gives me confidence. There's no fight that Anthony Yarde has had that gives me confidence that he can beat Sullivan Barrera. Now, he's got a skill set there. We just don't know how good that skill set is. And again, it's all based around one thing. Can the man take a punch? He's got all these things there. He can punch. He's got great defense. He seems to be able to have good defense. But if he gets hit with look at Amir Khan. Let's give you an example of Amir Khan. Blinding hand speed, fast hands. But boxing IQ is a lot lower than we thought, because when he actually got in the ring with somebody who stood in front of him and he got hit on the chin, we know what happened. He fell apart. But then you've seen other guys that come the big fights, they've risen to the occasion. But then you look at a guy's amateur background and you think, that's what we can go off. We know in his amateur background he did this, and this. So we know that his professional fights are preparing him for this, and this. With Anthony Yarde, much like Ahara Davis, and you see, Anthony Yarde is Ahara Davis the right way. Ahara Davis left Tunde Ajayi, if you remember, and he went his own way. And he went and fought Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor was a guy who had a decorated amateur career. And as a pro, we all know what he's doing now as a pro. And that's how good Josh Taylor is. Ahara Davis had no business being in the ring with Josh Taylor that night. Absolutely no business whatsoever. He had no business whatsoever being in that ring, apart from uninformed boxing casuals that thought at the time that Ahara Davis should have been in the ring with Josh Taylor. I said this about his amateur background, and that always comes out in big fights. Lawrence Okoli, Chamberlain. Chamberlain had no business being in the ring with Lawrence Okoli that night. Again, amateur background, gone to the Olympics, GB squad. Had no business being in the ring with Chamberlain. With Okoli. Again, Luke Watkin. Okoli. Had no business being in the ring with Okoli. Amateur background. So when you're talking about boxing, don't talk to me about the fights and don't talk to me so much about the records. What did they do in their amateur careers? Because a lot of these amateurs have fought at world level and had the experience to fight against different styles, different opponents, and world-class athletes. But if you just want to see fighting for fighting's sake, I understand. We're having a different conversation. But when we're actually talking about trying to predict or have an idea of how a guy will do in a matchup, you look at Sullivan Barrera's background, you look at Anthony Yarde's background, you bring them together as pros. Whenever I look at pros who've had amateur experiences like Lomachenko, that's just a pro fighter fighting a lot more in the amateurs. 300 something amateur bouts. Same with Usyk. These guys have got such an advantage over your typical pro fighter that's had, I don't know, about 20, 30 fights. I've just boxed with inside the UK. And I've never traveled around the world. All these things are key. All these things are key. So I'm not saying that Yarde can't beat Barrera. No. Please. I'm the first one that wants to see Yarde beat Barrera. I'm the first one that wants to see Tunde Ajayi succeed. I'm the first one that wants to see Tunde Ajayi and his style do well for a number of reasons. Because in the UK in particular, anything that's new, it's new, and it's done by somebody we don't know of, or we don't respect, we disrespect. So I want to see Tunde Ajayi and Yarde being his product to show the world, you know what? If you're stuck with me, this is what you get. So far, Tunde Ajayi, in terms of promoter and manager, he's done a better job than most promoters and manager in this country. Fact. You tell me, in the promoters we've got in this country, or the managers we've got in this country, how many managers have got their fighter to be both on Sky and on BT on a promotion for Maximus? How many fighters? How many fighters do you know? Oh dear, we've got another one in the room that wants to troll, so we're going to have to say goodbye. You should know by now when you come on the channel, you're just going to get deleted. So I don't know why you even bother coming on the channel. You're just going to get deleted. Anyway, Celery's gone now. Bye. So I can't remember what I was saying because I got messed around with the troll. Somebody please remind me. Yeah, so you can't really, when I talk about promotions and management with Anthony Yarde, you name me a manager in this country, barring Eddie Hearn, that's got an Olympic gold medal in that's dropped in his lap, and Anthony Joshua I'm talking about there. I'm talking about a guy that like has got a limited amateur background and has got the endorsements that Anthony Yarde has got. I keep talking about this and keep sleeping on it. The endorsements that Anthony Yarde has got is phenomenal. And that's the way a boxer should be promoted and managed, in my opinion. And if I was going into boxing management, I'd be going down the Tunde Ajayi route if I had a fighter that had a limited amateur background. When you look at this picture here, you see two belts. You see the WBO European belt and you see the WBO Intercontinental belt. But you know what? Why does everyone keep asking me if the fight's confirmed? Do I look like a promoter to you? I'm giving you information. There's a question mark. Anthony Yarde versus Sullivan Barrera, February 2019. Question mark, question mark, question mark. If I put Anthony Yarde versus Sullivan Barrera confirmed, it will be confirmed. But I'm telling you what, if you listen to what I've said to you, I've said it's been tweeted out by Sullivan Barrera. I've said that it's confirmed in terms of a date and a place in Leicester. So I don't know why you keep asking me if it's confirmed. I'm not the promoter. I'm not the manager. I'm just giving you information. But back to my point. People keep distracting me, and I'm going to stay back on point. There is nobody in the UK that is more well marketed than Anthony Yarde. And if I was going to manage and market a fighter, then it will be Anthony Yarde. In the way, and I ask you only once, but if you scroll back up, Mr. Hashman Boxing, the question was asked earlier. So, back to my point. So, when we talk about Anthony Yarde, we're talking about a fighter now, as far as I'm concerned, that is being well marketed. And I tell you something, when they go on, they say, okay, Anthony Yarde, who's Anthony Yarde? Who's Anthony Yarde? And he's going to market, people will be marketed by him. They say to him, look, he's European champion, he's Intercontinental champion, he fights on BT Sports. Wow. People who don't know say, that's fantastic. And he's on TV, he's got a world ranking. Fantastic. That's a marketing and promoter's dream. So there we go. So in terms of Anthony Yarde, I think it's a brilliant fight in terms of the fan side of things. But in terms of potential danger in this matchup, I would rather him fight Fonfara. I would rather see Yarde fight Fonfara in the light heavyweight division. Somebody who's been there. You know, he beat up Nathan Cleverly. I'd like to see him fight Fonfara. That would have been a good fight. Jürgen Bremer. I'd like to see Yarde fight Jürgen Bremer. Jürgen Bremer can punch. Jürgen Bremer's a bit stiff and a bit slow. Whereas Yarde's got some speed there and some movement and some power. Jürgen Bremer. So if you're going to fight Sullivan Barrera, you may as well fight Jürgen Bremer. So Jürgen Bremer would have been a guy I would have fought. And Fonfara. Two guys I would have considered fighting. But Sullivan Barrera, that's just that next level. You know, that's that's a difficult fight, I think. But Yarde could prove me wrong. I said I want Yarde to win this fight. I want Yarde and Tunde Ajayi to win this fight, and I want them to win this fight big. I really do. Because there's a lot of hate out there from people that are jealous. There's a lot of hate out there from people that don't like to see people do well. There's a lot of hate out there from people who don't understand it. And because they didn't do it, and there's a thing in this country that they do a lot. Because they didn't do it, because they didn't come up with the idea, they slate it. Do you remember back in the day? I'll take you back a while. Remember when Mayweather was doing all that pad work? He was doing all that pad work, and people in the UK were laughing at him. Remember, Ricky Hatton made a big mockery of it. What's Ricky Hatton doing now with Nathan Gorman? Is he not using them same tactics? Is he not using them same pad work? See, this is what I talk about. People that understand certain things, they mock it. And that's what happens a lot in the UK. And a lot of people don't understand Tunde Ajayi and what he's doing. And they don't understand the journey with him and Anthony Yarde. But for me, Anthony Yarde is the best marketed fighter in the UK. And arguably one of the best marketed fighters in the world who haven't got an Olympic gold medalist and haven't got a world amateur championship behind them. And it's got limited amateur background. And it's got limited pro experience. Very well marketed. And if I'm talking about being somebody managing me, Tunde Ajayi is doing a wonderful job. But if you're one of these guys that doesn't care much for matchmaking and management and the real science behind boxing and just like Gatti versus Wall type of fights, then this sort of talk is not going to interest you at all. And I know it's not going to interest you, but I'm just calling it as it is. Isaac Chilemba, yes, that would have been a good fight for him. In fact, I'd have faster take. I would have taken the Isaac Chilembe fight first and then fought Barrera. That's the sort of fight. Chilembe would have prepared Yarde for Barrera. But Chilembe is difficult. He's as slippery as they come. He's not easy to hit. And he has the ability to give Yarde nightmares. One of the things about Yarde's, the other thing about Yarde I'm a bit concerned about is the flat-footedness. When you're flat-footed like that, one of the things you can have a problem is people can move around you in the ring because you're so flat-footed. And your base, you need that base, that flat-footedness, that base to generate your power. That's another thing about Yarde. The base is base. You know, he's flat-footed. That means also he'll walk onto big shots. He's not one of these guys who, if he's hurt, can get himself out of trouble that way. So he'll be flat-footed. So when he takes a shot, he'll take the full impact of a shot. So we'll see whether he moves up in class against guys who've got faster hands than him, guys who've got better footwork than him, that can maneuver their way around the ring when they can give him different distances and make it difficult for Yarde to generate the sort of power he generally would get against lower level opposition that stand right in front of him, how Yarde does. And again, it's a guy that's going to make him miss and make him pay, like he's making people miss, make him pay. How he does is he going to be patient. He's going to rush his work. When he starts getting hit back and starts getting hurt and having to swallow his own blood and all that sort of stuff, how does he respond? Has he got a heart? Are we looking at a real lion there in Anthony Yarde? Are we looking at a bully? Are we looking at a superstar? Are we looking at a global superstar? Or are we looking at a well-managed and promoted fighter? The questions still remain. But I hope that Tunde and Anthony answer the questions with mastery. So, Master Tunde Jai, if you're listening to this, and Sir Anthony Yarde, King, I hope you're both listening to this, and I hope you listen to it well. I hope you listen to it, and I hope you consider what I'm saying, not as a criticism, but as an observation. You've done a stellar job with Anthony Yarde up to this point. I'm sure that there will be more pressure on you in 2019 to take the big fights. And I know you said that when you're ready, Anthony Yarde will be let off the leash. I guess you believe that Anthony Yarde is ready in 2019 to face Sullivan Barrera. Because, being honest, a lot of the boxing fans, whereas the marketing side of things and the promotional side of things is going great, I speak from one of the British boxing fans. They're losing interest. They want to see him step up and fight to see these questions answered, so they can get behind Yarde and rant and rave and shout about Yarde as people would shout about Canelo or shout about Fury or shout about these other people. Yarde is a light heavyweight. Right, I am out of here. Thank you all so much for tuning in, including the trolls. Thank you for tuning in as well. When will you ever learn? This is BWTM Sports. Once again, thank you for listening. We're out. Take care.